All right, everybody, what's going on today, tonight, this morning, whatever time it is in your part of the world? Thought I'd make a little video on 1990s bodybuilding. Now, the golden era of bodybuilding was considered to be the 1970s. And of course, we all know Gold's Gym, Venice, California, Arnold Franco and the boys hanging out. The movie Pumping Iron, of course, introduced the public to bodybuilding, personalities of bodybuilding, what it took to be a bodybuilder, and the culture and the demeanor of bodybuilding. But in my opinion, the 1990s are right up there with the 1970s. You could call the 90s the golden era 2.0. Now, these guys had some pretty incredible physiques. A lot of the top bodybuilders that ever lived competed in the 90s. They managed to still keep relatively small waists along with much more mass than the 1970s guys, certainly more complete in terms of leg development and along the lines of conditioning was pretty tremendous. 90s guys are known as having tremendous conditioning. Even the larger guys like Dorian brought in tremendous conditioning. A lot of the 90s guys too. One of the things about the 90s was there were a lot of issues with guys having problems on stage posing. And a lot of the guys that competed in the 90s have had serious health issues, and a lot of them are no longer with us. So whatever it took to achieve that conditioning was pretty extreme, diuretics, whatever it was. So the 90s guys pushed the envelope in terms of getting shredded. And unfortunately, a lot of these guys have paid the price. Nevertheless, the 90s will go down, in my opinion, as the best decade and the deepest decade of bodybuilding to this point. Of course, Dexter Jackson got his start in the 90s. A lot of people might not be aware of that. He's been around a long, long time. Throwback to the 90s, you could say Dex is with the nice overall physique, balanced physique, the nice tight waist. Paul Dillette. Now, when people talk about the best arms in the world, you never hear Paul Dillette's best arms in the history of bodybuilding. You never hear Paul Dillette's name brought up, and that's a shame. Paul was a massive dude, had a lot of trouble posing. Again, he locked up on stage at one time. He trying to get into conditioning and get the cuts like the rest of these guys had. But he was a freaky man, a tall guy. I think he was like 6'1", 6'2", and Paul kind of lacked a back. And but certainly just a massive dude and one of my favorite bodybuilders of the 90s. Of course, you got the legendary Dorian Yates. Brought about everything to the table in terms of conditioning, thickness, and presentation. Dorian knew how to present his physique, and he came in great shape more often than not. Of course, that arm, his left arm later in his career, was an issue, and more than one, a lot of people thought maybe Dorian was given a gift his last couple Olympias, but it is what it is. Nevertheless, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, and certainly deserves that consideration. You got Flex Wheeler. Now, Flex made a comeback last year in the classic physique division, and Flex was probably one of the most gifted bodybuilders to ever compete in overall just genetics, full muscle belly, small joints, etc. You got Lee Labrada, another guy, smaller bodybuilder with a very aesthetic physique. Usually knew how to present himself in terms of his physique very well. You got, of course, the great Lee Haney was winning Olympias in the 90s. And just what can you say about Lee Haney? Really, overall, for that day, he was one of the biggest guys. He had a tremendous back. You can see the lat flares and legendary Lee Haney. So lots of Hall of Fame bodybuilders, Lee Priest. There's lots of Lees competed in the 1990s. Lee, of course, known for his tremendous arms and just a ball of muscle. Lee Priest, certainly one of the most popular bodybuilders of the 90s as well in terms of fan support, etc. Kevin Levrone, of course, Kevin's going to compete this year again, so it tells you how long Kevin's been around. Probably, definitely one of the most gifted bodybuilders as well in terms of genetics. This guy gained muscle up to the Olympia, up to competing. He would gain muscle, not try and lose fat. So he kind of did it backwards, and it sure worked for him. Mike Francois, I thought I'd throw Mike in there. Mike was a big, thick dude. Won some shows, and he's still around today. He's still involved in bodybuilding. I think he promotes his own show. Nasser El Somebody, rest in peace. Probably, in some people's mind, one of the uncrowned Mr. Olympias during Dorian's run. And, was Nasser, did he win the Olympia? I don't know. Certainly from the back, though, it's hard to beat Dorian Yates, and that sticks in your mind. So unfortunately, Nasser didn't get his Olympia title, but certainly from the front, Nasser was the better man. And of course, you got Ronnie Coleman. Now, Ronnie Coleman, in my opinion, the greatest bodybuilder of all time. Just what can you say? If you've seen this guy's training videos, you understand what I'm talking about. This guy was brutally strong. He brought an incredible mass, and all things considered, for his mass, really when he was posing, his physique was pretty balanced. And you really have to be impressed by Ronnie. But he's paid the price for those years of training like a machine. 2 hip replacements. I think he had nerve problems. One side of his body was smaller than the other side. All kinds of strange injuries. Sean Ray, of course, look at the vacuum on Sean Ray. Definitely one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. Like him or hate him, certainly brought a tremendous physique to the Olympia. And of course, Vince Taylor, multiple Masters Mr. Olympia winner, like I said, competed a lot. These guys in the 90s competed a lot. So, they never really, I don't think, let themselves get so far out of shape as the guys today do. Vince will certainly go down as one of the great bodybuilders ever. Another picture of Sean Ray. Another picture of Paul Dillette. The 90s were kind of strange because things change, but seeing pictures, they wore the jean shorts cut off and the big boots and suspenders and like the Barbarian Brothers, the crazy stuff going on in the early 90s anyway. And another picture of Nasser. Look how thick Nasser looks. Crazy stuff. Picture from one of the Olympias. You got Sean Ray. I think you got Milo Sarcev in the back left. His head popping over. Another very outstanding physique. Most gym goers would love to have a physique like Milos had back in the day. Lee Labrada's in that pic. You got Dorian Yates. Of course, you got Flex Wheeler. And I'm thinking that's Mike Matarazzo. I'm not sure. I can't really tell. We got another picture of Chris Cormier. Just the X-Man before there was an X-Man. Just a great overall balanced physique. One of the top trainers in the business right now. And of course, this is the 91 Mr. Olympia lineup. Let's take a look at this lineup. Lee Haney, Dorian Yates, Vince Taylor, Lee Labrada, Sean Ray, Sonny Schmidt. Now, a lot of you guys remember Sonny was a Samoan. He died, I believe, of a heart attack at a very young age. Francis Benfano, a complete physique, outstanding physique. Thierry Pastel, Achim Albrecht. A lot of you guys remember Achim, made a video on Achim. Rich Gaspari, the Dragon Slayer, competed in the 90s as well. Was runner-up to Lee Haney in multiple times in the Olympia. Bob Paris, another great physique, classic physique. These guys with Bob Paris, Sean Ray, Lee Labrada, Francis Benfano. These guys brought classic type physiques to the Olympia. Robbie Robinson was in this. Samir, an Olympia winner. Albert Beckles. Let's pop up to the 1999 Olympia. You got Ronnie Coleman, Flex Wheeler, Chris Cormier, Kevin Lebroni, Sean Ray, Nasser, Paul Dillette, Lee Priest, Dexter Jackson, Milos, Mike Matarazzo, Jay Cutler actually competed in the 90s as well. Marcus Rule. Just some legends of bodybuilding, some of the most popular bodybuilders that ever lived were in the 90s. This was Ronnie's second consecutive win. Rule was disqualified for diuretics. That was the big thing because these guys were getting in a lot of trouble with these diuretics. Porter Cottrell, another classic physique, one of the great consistent bodybuilders of the 1990s. He came in, I think, with Kevin Lebrone. They both came in the same year. Porter was there when Momo Benazia died. He tried to save Momo because I think Porter was a fireman. Interesting story behind that. You guys probably want to maybe research that, but it was kind of interesting. They weren't really friends, but Porter tried to save his life. I mean, what's he going to do? Obviously, he's going to try. But nevertheless, the 1990s, in my opinion, the best year for bodybuilding in terms of the overall package that was delivered to the stage: conditioning, muscle mass, tighter waists. What can you say? That's just my opinion. Can you call it the real golden era? But no, you can't. But you can call it Golden Era 2.0.